Welcome to Silvio's channel. Here, we don't just talk about nutrition, we go beyond that. Our goal is to explore simple but powerful practices that can positively impact your life. Small habits can transform our energy, our mind, and even our physical well-being. And today, we bring you a curious and, at first glance, unusual topic. What happens when you put salt in your shoes? Sounds strange? It may be. But throughout this video, you will understand how this small ritual can bring significant changes to your daily life. Salt has always been present in the history of humanity. Long before it was just a simple seasoning in the kitchen, it was considered a sacred element, used for purification, protection, and even to ward off negative energy. In many cultures, it was spread in the corners of homes to ward off evil spirits, thrown over shoulders to ward off bad luck, and used in healing and cleansing rituals. But what few people know is that carrying salt in your shoes can be a powerful, grounding mechanism helping to relieve stress, improve mental clarity, and bring balance to the body and mind. Sarah's day began like any other. She woke up before sunrise, prepared breakfast for her children, organized her work schedule, and left the house with her mind already overloaded with worries. The tasks never diminished, the problems seemed to multiply, and the feeling of exhaustion became increasingly unbearable. She constantly found herself on the edge, with no time for herself, no room to breathe. It was as if she were walking on a road of sharp stones, each step more difficult than the last. Until, in an unpretentious conversation, she heard something that would completely change her perception of life. A small ritual that involved putting salt in her shoes. At first, Sarah laughed at the idea. How could something so simple make a difference? But driven by the desperation to try anything to find a minimum of balance, she decided to give it a try. She grabbed a handful of coarse salt, discreetly sprinkled it inside her shoes, and went about her day. She wasn't expecting anything grand, just a momentary curiosity. But as the hours passed, something inside her began to change. It was as if an invisible weight was slowly being lifted. Her mind seemed clearer, her body less tense, and somehow she felt an inexplicable comfort. What Sarah didn't know was that for centuries, salt has been used in different cultures as an element of purification and energetic balance. Since ancient times, civilizations have used it to ward off bad energy, cleanse environments, and even protect people from negative influences. In Japan, for example, it is common to see small amounts of salt at the entrance of establishments to attract good vibes. In African and European traditions, salt is thrown into corners of the house or used in baths for spiritual renewal. But what does this have to do with putting it in your shoes? Throughout history, it has been believed that the feet are direct points of connection with the earth and therefore absorb both positive and negative energies. The act of walking with salt inside your shoes acts as a filter, helping to neutralize accumulated tension, stabilize the body's energy, and even improve mental disposition. Although it may seem like an esoteric concept, science also offers a plausible explanation for this practice. Salt, in addition to its spiritual properties, has physical capacities to absorb moisture and toxins, keeping your feet dry and comfortable. This simple change can directly impact your sense of well-being throughout the day. Within the first few days, Sarah noticed that her irritation over little things had begun to diminish. Traffic no longer felt so overwhelming. Deadlines at work were still challenging, but not overwhelming. Her children, who had previously seemed to drain her completely, now seemed more patient and tender. Something inside her had changed, even if she couldn't quite explain how. The simple act of sprinkling salt on her shoes became a daily ritual, a small reminder that she was in control of her emotions and energy. With each step, she felt more connected to the present. And then, over time, she began to look at her routine with different eyes. She realized that her body was responding not only to physical fatigue, but also to the emotional weight she was carrying. By allowing herself this small gesture of self-care, she began to reflect on other areas of her life that needed adjustments. She reduced the time she spent on social media, started stretching before bed, drank more water, and forced herself to breathe deeply during moments of greater stress. The salt in her shoes had been just the first step in a much larger process of transformation. The science of well-being is often hidden in the details we overlook. Something as mundane as the touch of salt on our feet can act as a psychological trigger, a physical reminder that small changes can have profound impacts. This phenomenon is explained by behavioral psychology. By introducing a new habit associated with a specific sensation, we create new neural connections that reprogram our perception of the world. And that's exactly what happened to Sarah. Salt, which for many was nothing more than a cooking ingredient, became a symbol of her rebirth. As the weeks went by, friends and colleagues began to notice the change. They asked her if she was doing anything different, if she had started some in therapy or meditation technique. She just smiled. It wasn't about a big change, but rather about an accumulation of small daily choices that made all the difference. The salt in her shoes was just the beginning. Her sleep improved, her energy increased, and most importantly, her way of facing challenges changed. That feeling of suffocation that she carried every day began to give way to a new lightness. Sarah's experience wasn't unique. Many other people who have tried this practice have reported similar benefits. Some said they felt more secure, as if they were carrying an invisible shield against negativity. Others noticed improved energy throughout the day, less mental fatigue, and more clarity in making decisions. Of course, not everyone felt the same effects, but the point wasn't the salt itself, it was what it represented. A commitment to oneself, a reminder that self-care can be found in the most unexpected details. This story teaches us something fundamental. We don't need grandiose solutions to transform our routine. Small rituals, simple gestures, subtle changes in the way we deal with our daily lives can be enough to start a process of balance and renewal. Sarah's life didn't become perfect. The challenges continued to exist, the problems were still there, but the way she faced them had completely changed. Now, ask yourself, what can you do today, no matter how small, to improve your quality of life? Maybe it's not putting salt in your shoes. Maybe it's taking 5 minutes to take a deep breath before you start your day. Maybe it's turning off your phone an hour before bed, or simply choosing to look at your difficulties with a lighter touch. The important thing is that every change starts with a first step. And sometimes that step can be taken in your own shoes. If this story resonated with you, how about trying this little ritual and observing the effects? The important thing is not to blindly follow a practice, but to be open to new possibilities. Well-being does not lie in magic formulas, but in the small daily decisions we make. Give this experience a chance and see how your body and mind react. And remember, the path to a lighter and more balanced life begins with simple choices. Who knows, a handful of salt might be all you need to change your perspective. If after a few days you notice a positive difference, you might consider incorporating this habit into your routine, even if only occasionally. Simply paying attention to your own well-being is already a big step towards a more balanced life. Small gestures can have significant impacts, and this is a clear example of how subtle changes can improve our quality of life. Allow yourself to experiment and see if it makes sense for you. And remember, self-knowledge comes from experimentation. Small changes can have profound impacts on your well-being. If you liked this content, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who could benefit from this practice. After all, taking care of yourself doesn't have to be complicated. Sometimes, all it takes is a little salt on your shoes to transform your day. Thank you very much for following this story until the end. I hope it made sense to you and that it sparked reflections on how small changes can make a big difference in our well-being. If this content helped you in any way, don't forget to like it, subscribe to the channel, and activate notifications to continue receiving more tips and inspiring stories. Share this video with someone who could also benefit from this knowledge and leave a comment telling us about your experience. See you next time.